Well, hello. How's it going, everybody? It's me, New Glasses, Comic Crack. I had my eyes checked today. I'm still on drugstore prescriptions for reading. Nothing bad. It was good enough. Check went well. Everything is fine with this old man's eyes. His ears, on the other hand, we'll find out. That's the next appointment that I have to make. Get a little bit of a hearing test done. So we had some news here in town. We're now the province is in code red, which means that there's a lot of lockdown happening again. Non-essential workers and such working from home. So yeah, we've had an increase in hospital admittance. We've had outbreak in one of the hospitals. Personal care homes have been hit really hard. It's been fairly intense here for the past number of weeks. So they've kind of started to introduce some measures in the past couple of weeks. And then today was kind of the starting on Thursday. For a minimum of 2 weeks, they're going to readdress it or reassess it rather in 2 weeks. They're thinking of doing kind of two-week chunks, but I guess we'll see what they say 2 weeks from now. So I know that various other places in the world are shutting down, UK being one of them too. I think they shut down on Thursday of last week. So, you know, that's it is what it is. Swore up and down they wouldn't lock us down. It's not a full lockdown like we had before, but it is definitely along those lines. And I mean, I think it's a number of people think, myself included, that it's a long time coming, that this should have happened a while ago. So, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about comics. It is Tuesday night, 10 p.m. here in Winnipeg. Want to talk about a couple of things that I grabbed recently, a couple of things I've been reading recently. But I wanted to start off when Rasa and I are doing our Sunday chats. I wanted to kind of do a separate video just to focus on a couple of the books that really stood out to me. For those of you who don't join us for those chats or who don't watch those chats, I still wanted to have a moment to kind of highlight ones that were on my radar for reading that really stood out to me. So the two I wanted to briefly talk about, they're both from Catalan Communications, and one is Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, with art by Fernando Fernandez. Incredible painted art in this volume. Just stunning to look through. Absolutely stunning. The story itself was great, really kept me engaged. One of the things that's just kind of me and a pet peeve is when I see spelling mistakes. There was a number of them in this one. And it really just, it pulls me right out of the story. Is it the end of the world? Not even close to the end of the world, but it does end up pulling me out of the story. Hey, Chaos and Comics, how's it going, man? But overall, though, this was just an incredible book, and this art just fucking blew my mind. I'll find you a couple of highlights here, and just a really nice kind of take on it, a nice gothic tale. There was one specific. I mean, there's so many panels, there's so many pages. I just love the use, how he lays out the pages. Sorry, just bear with me for 1 second here. Here we go. This is the one that I showed Rasa as well too in our chat on Sunday. I just think that's incredible stuff. Really impressive. So definitely a major spotlight on this one. If you do see it, don't even hesitate for a second. And I mean, I was talking about it in the chat too, because Rasa had asked me before about some of these companies, like, how do you find out about these? And honestly, I think, like some people do even now, if I see something that says Catalan Communications on it, or it says Comcat, or it says Cinebook, or it says NBM, I'm going to pick those up and I'm going to have a look at them. And if it's something that I don't recognize and it's cheap enough, I'm not even going to give it that close of a look. I'm just going to buy it. This was one of those from the list from Greg here in town that jumped off at the page at me. Another one that jumped off the page that was equally impressive, that I read these back to back, and it was a real good duo, was Kripax's and Stevenson, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, adults only, from Catalan Communications. Again, a bit of a thinner volume, and he really just goes to town. I mean, you know, the idea of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, this kind of fight that a man in this case is having with his id, and his id kind of taking control of things. And when the id does take control, when Mr. Hyde does take control, it just leads to a bunch of debauchery, lots of drug use, lots of voyeurism on his part, and women doing unsightly things to each other to our amusement and pleasure as we read it. And again, Kripax, I only have the one volume. I only have the one Fantagraphics volume, and after reading this, it just reminds me that I really should pick up more. I mean, here's your opening page, right? These long, narrow panels. I love it. There was another. This is the Kripax book there, Chaos. Guido Kripax. There was another page that really. I mean, there was a million pages in this that really fucking impressed me. But I really liked the way they handled one of the transformations. And I'll just find it right here. So he drinks his potion, and to show his friend that, you know, this experiment that he's been working on, kind of give him some details. We get a little bit of transformation there. And I love this bottom panel with the central Dr. Jekyll and then the eyes shifting across the page there. I think that works really, really well as an entire page. And then just because it's my channel, there's a page after page of gorgeous naked women, the way only Kripax can draw. So this was a stunning, stunning book. And again, neither of these are things that I would necessarily be drawn to. I'm not drawn to the story of Dracula. I'm not drawn to the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's not that I have anything against them. It's just not kind of the thing that I would find myself drawn to classically. But as I'm kind of continuing with this reading, especially with European stuff, and these things pop up in those companies, I'm finding I'm really thoroughly enjoying them. I think it was Gore Vidal that was saying that, well, I know it was Gore Vidal. I think he was saying that Kripax had also did Story of O, and did he say Emmanuel was the other one too? I'm not sure if I'm making that up or not, because I know that's a series of movies. So those are the ones highlighted from the Sunday chat. Those chats will continue if you join us. We are rereading Fatale, and sorry, not Fatale. We're rereading Velvet, and we're going to be talking about at least the first two issues. I just reread the first issue actually Sunday night before bed, and it was great to jump back into it. Fantastic first issue. So we'll that'll be one of the books that we're going to read together, Rasa and myself, and we'll talk about. Another thing, I'm going to save some of this for last. Maybe we'll go to the few things that I grabbed this weekend. Again, just 4 books from the Facebook Comic Addicts, the Winnipeg Comic Addicts, one of the auctions that they had going. Just picked up a few things that I won there. A couple of Witching Hour books, number 36 here, and number 39, as I continue occasionally picking these up, and only if they're cheap. I don't, I'm not spending big bucks on these books as I fill in my gaps in this collection here. They're just so amazing to flip through. Just a lot of fun. The stories are, as if you've delved into this kind of stuff, the stories aren't necessarily breaking any barriers or doing much different, but I mean, they serve their purpose, right? And that art is just incredible. And then another series that I'm very, very, very slowly chipping away at. This is The Unexpected, a real beat up copy of number 112. But in a way, I kind of dig these books in this shape, kind of adds something to it. So, and then finally, one that I just recently, within the past year or so, decided that I was going to try to pick up if I could, if they were affordable. This was the most I spent on an issue so far. I think this was $10 Canadian for issue number 16. I'd picked a couple of these Phantom Stranger books up many years ago because they had some Dead Man appearances in them. And I'm finding that the other couple that I picked up that I got in like $1 or $2 bins or $3 bins or whatever they were, I enjoyed. I don't have that many, so it's a brand new kind of series that over the years I'll kind of chip away at a little bit at a time. This one didn't strike me. I didn't enjoy it as much as I had the previous. Like the other Phantom Stranger that I have, this is almost right in line with these other ones, with Unexpected and Witching Hour, in as much as they're kind of they're anthologies when it comes to these stories. So there's 3 different stories in this one, I believe, and they just, again, it's not that they were horrible. They just didn't grab me. They're not as kind of out there as these other ones. The art is a little cleaner. And then we'll get to here's the Image in Wax is the Phantom Stranger story. Script Len Wein, art Jim Aparo, and editor Joe Orlando. Mignola, I don't believe that's a Mignola cover, if that's what you're asking me there, Chaos. I don't see a signature on it, but I mean, if anything, it has kind of that Neil Adams-ish type of look to it. But I mean, what do I know? I'm not the guy for kind of pinpointing covers, to be honest. That would be a Damien type of thing. And a lot of these other guys, they'd be able to look at that and tell you right away. I'm not as in tune when it comes to this kind of stuff. So there's that. So those were the few that I picked up. This one came in Mylar. Ooh la la. Fancy. The mail call that I got, I also read, oh yeah, I'm going to talk very briefly about this now that we're on this horror tip. I only have one other issue of this Flinch Vertigo series. I just read this one tonight, and I think every single story out of this just fell completely flat, which was disappointing, especially the first one, being as it's Brian Azzarello. I thought that it would be something, and it really wasn't much of anything. I believe this is the same artist that did that Diablo comic that I spoke about, I don't know, months ago at this point, that sort of Western one. And it just ended on a note that was like, yeah, so, and then we get into In the Pink, and I perked up a little bit with the art because I really like the art and I really like the coloring. And again, the story was just like, nah. So, and then I got into the third story, and the third story had the most going for it. Art by David Lloyd, writer by Tony Bedard, artist and colorist David Lloyd, rather. So he did the coloring too. And I mean, it was a little better, but even that, it was kind of meh. I mean, I don't know what I expect with some of this stuff because, like with anything, you're not going to be able to knock things out of the park every single time. And it makes me think of something that I've talked about here before, that sometimes my thinking when it comes to comics is that everything has just gonna, holy shit, that was incredible. It's just not the case. You're going to get into some, if you're getting into any sort of genre storytelling, there's going to be stuff that just kind of toes the line of that particular genre and is just a story. But you never seen Flinch? Yeah, I haven't seen many either. But this popped up for cheap, and I thought I'd give it a shot. Or maybe did I grab it in that? I might have grabbed it in that trade that I did at Red River. But I don't normally see it, and honestly, I'm not going to go digging for it. The thing that I will be continuing with, and this will be the last thing we talk about tonight. I'm 3 issues into it, and I'm fucking loving it. Shit, I closed that page. Give me 1 second here. Boing Being, because I want to make sure that I give credit. Tommy Musturi, Musturi. These came to me from Finland. He's got a website, boingbeing.com. He's got 5 issues of this book called Future. It's going to go 10 issues. You can do a 10-issue subscription, 60 euros or 60 US dollars. And if you order Future, he will cover the shipping, but only on Future. He's got a bunch of other books, collections. I guess he's got a collection coming from Fantagraphics. I'm reading here the screen as we're talking about it. Long-awaited second Samuel graphic novel. This book will be released. Oh, I guess it already has been released. Spring 2017 by Fantagraphics with the title Simply Samuel. So if you want to check out Fantagraphics for a book called Simply Samuel, the thing that, I mean, one of the many things that impresses me about this is all of the art is done by the same guy. They're these glossy kind of covers. They're a little smaller, only a little smaller than a regular comic. Same width, but just a tiny bit shorter. And every single story is art by him, and his style changes for every single story, and it's fucking incredible stuff. I know other people kind of in the kayfabe kind of universe have raved about this series as well. But man, oh man, I'm really, really digging it. So it's kind of, you know, it seems to be a theme here tonight. You sort of have your horror host who's from the future, and he's greeting you from the future. He doesn't exist anymore, although now that we're seeing him, does that mean that he exists? And he's taking you to this future civilization. Is it the civilization of the planet Earth and human beings? I'm assuming so. It hasn't been completely said out loud. But are these possible futures? He's talking about the past. And every single issue seems to have a little bit of a theme, a different theme. So the thing with each of these stories and each of these kind of groups of characters, they all reappear in every single issue. So each of these stories have their own little arc. And you can see them by issue 3, you're starting to see them intertwine with each other a little more. It's a hell of a read, man. Some of the writing is really on the nose, flat out kind of very political in some of it. But other parts of it are kind of surreal, sort of Daniel Clowes-ish with some of the writing. This final story has some of my favorite art. This particular series has some of my favorite art and some of my favorite layouts. Really reminds me of what's his name, who does Acme Comics? Chris Ware. Kind of reminds me of, has a bit of a Chris Ware vibe. And then the final page, future forecast. There's some quote unquote letters that have come in and asking this kind of all-knowing being a few questions, and the entity kind of answers the best they can. So that's issue number 1. That's issue number 2. And then I'll show you the back cover on that one. It's amazing to me that it's the same artist throughout. And I've heard of these. They popped up on my radar earlier this year, or midway through the year. I don't remember exactly when. And it was something that in the back of my head, I always thought like, yeah, I should jump on those. And I just never did. And it popped up on my radar again. And I checked out his website and saw that he was offering free shipping. Again, he was one of those guys. When I contacted him, I said, hey man, I'm all the way in Canada. It's not going to be cheap. Are you sure you don't want some extra money for shipping? He said, no, it's totally fine. I'll get them to you. He tried to sell me on a subscription, but at that time I just didn't have enough money in my PayPal to deal with such a thing. And then probably my favorite issue of the bunch. This is Future number 5, the newest one anyway. So I don't know what to tell you. This is incredible. This is pretty fucking unique. I can honestly say I haven't really seen anything like this before, even though there are shades of, the All Time Comics crew, the Josh Bayers, etc. There's shades of those kind of artists in here, especially popping open a page like this. But it really is its own thing. And look at this. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what else to say beyond that. Give it a shot. Get in touch with the guy. So it's Boing Being, BOING BEING, and it is .com. Check it out. And like I said, you do the subscription, he'll send you the issues as they're done. Oh, look at this. Fucking hell, man. Just gorgeous. Like really, really impressive. I'm probably going to sit tonight and read the final 2 issues. Like I said, things are getting twisted in issue number 3. I'm not sure that I'm following exactly what's going on. But again, I say the Daniel Clowes, not to disparage him, just that I remember when I was reading 8 Ball, when it was coming out, the first bunch of issues anyway, I had a similar feeling where I didn't really know exactly what I was reading, especially like Velvet Glove Cast and Iron, which is just a phenomenal story. But then everything else in that book, a one-man anthology, where you don't quite know how everything ties together. You get this feeling that everything does tie together, more so in this book than in 8 Ball. But that same kind of feeling that I had reading 8 Ball is the same kind of thing I have here. Like, I don't really have much footing, I feel like, and I'm not quite sure what I'm getting exposed to or what the underlying message is, but I enjoy that. That's not a bad thing. I enjoy being kind of pushed a little bit, especially when every single page is just gorgeous, so that's it, people. 23 minutes and counting. Thanks very much for tuning in. Chris, nice to see you, and we'll talk to y'all soon.